I apologize, I got cut off. So I'll continue with Crisis Emergency Guide. And as I was saying in the next school board meeting that we have this Monday, we're actually going to look at buying the flip charts for each individual classroom that we'll place by those doors. But still, I decided to put this Crisis Emergency Guide in the 3-ring binder so that way you have it. Because I'm not for sure if the school board does decide to go in that direction when we would get those emergency planning guides. But just remember to continuously always use the red and green cards. If we have a fire drill, take your class to the predetermined areas with your exits. All you need to do for new teaching staff is look at your map located in your classroom. It'll give you the route that you're to take your students outside. Get roughly 50 to 75 yards away from the building. Count your students, and if you have all your kids, hold up the green card. If you're missing kids, hold up the red card, and an administrator will come around and make sure that everybody's accounted for. But in the emergency and crisis guide is about any type of crisis that you can think of. Obviously, the big ones that are in use quite frequently in our building are tornado, severe weather issues, fire issues, but also look at the lockdown procedures. If we were to have an intruder in our building, we would simply state that there is an intruder in your building. Please lock your doors. Or there's an intruder in our building and we are on lockdown. And at that time, you lock your doors, take your students to an area in your classroom, and stay quiet. So please take the time to look through the crisis and emergency guides. And if you have any questions on any of the anything within the crisis and emergency documents, please let us know. Next is substitute procedures. This is the green portion in your notebook. Please complete the class information in the substitute notebook located in your red binder. So where it has your information of your contact number, the faculty member that will be assisting you, and so on, please complete that. Daily lesson plans need to be included in this portion of the notebook as well. If you know ahead of time that you're going to need a day off for anything, please make arrangements with our building secretary, Lynette. If you need an emergency substitute, please call me. No text messages unless I don't answer your call. So please call me and let me know preferably the evening before if you're not going to be in the next day that you can't make it. But if it has to be that morning, please call. If I don't answer, then just text me. In the case of an emergency substitute situation where you don't have your lesson plans prepared for the next day, email those to myself or Lynette, and we'll make sure that those are ready. One thing that's going to be different from last year is there will be no paper trail as far as you requesting time off. All that's going to be done through attendance on demand. And when you get back, we're going to have a short district presentation on how to use attendance on demand. But in the substitute information, you're just going to need to fill out your bell schedule, your class schedule, and any classroom procedures you have, as well as any duties that you have over lunch period. And then substitute will have that information right there for them to hopefully have a good day. The next area of your 3-reading binder is teacher evaluation, and I'm not going to go through teacher evaluation during this presentation. We'll talk about this when we return. We will once again be using the McCrell Q's evaluation, which we used last year. So that will be when we return. We will discuss that. ISS policies and procedures. This is going to be different than how it's been the last 2 years. I've received approval to hire a substitute for in-school suspension. ISS will be located in the old junior high locker room that is no longer in use. We've moved all the dividers and desks from the credit recovery room down into that locker room area. The big thing from a teaching standpoint, you'll just need to, obviously we'll let you know if a student is in ISS, but you'll need to complete the homework form and get that back to us ASAP so we can get that down to the substitute. During in-school suspension, students will be required to complete a rules contract, a daily activity sheet, a reflection document on the behavior that made them go to in-school suspension, and a letter of apology to staff member, student, whomever that caused them to be an in-school suspension. I do believe this will be a better method in the past. The only downfall to this is before I hire a substitute, typically we'll need to have 2 or 3 students in school suspension at the same time. Otherwise, we'll be spending too much out on subs. So the negative is that a kid might perform a behavior that warrants in-school suspension, but I might not be able to put them in ISS immediately unless I can find a substitute at that time. So that's the only downfall of this, but I do think that it's still going to be a better method than putting them in the classroom with other students. So discipline matrix, since we're on the topic of behavior, level 1, a reminder that each discipline infraction is given points depending on the infraction. 1 point are your kind of minor infractions, bus citations, dress codes, tardies, inappropriate classroom behavior, lunchroom violation, parking, technology, unexcused absence. Level 2, Saturday school, bullying, cheating, tardies, those types of things. So I'm not going to read through all this. Something that you can look at out of your handbook as well. So student improvement team, the student improvement team will have monthly meetings from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. and we will meet in the conference room. The dates that we will meet are in your red binder. On our student improvement team will be obviously myself as principal, Mr. Long, our counselor, our advocate / credit recovery teacher, Mrs. Cassie Gorman, our special education teacher when available, Mrs. Bielen, and one general education teacher for each student meeting, depending on who's available at that time and grades and those kinds of things. So I'll schedule those in 30-minute, typically 20 to 30-minute increments for each student. In your red binder are a list of students that we currently have on SIT team, as well as our special education students. That list will more than likely change, as sometimes we have students enroll that have an IEP or were on a SIT plan in a previous school. So please make sure that you look at that. Other in your binder is just some school and staff information, and we'll discuss a lot of this during building and services when we return. But this is our district calendar for the year, our some initiatives that we're going to be going forth with in our building, as well as an improvement plan that ties along with it. Our bell schedules, the master schedule, activity meeting schedule, all those types of documents you can find in that portion of the binder. So we'll look at that when we get back. Also, please take time to look at that yourself. So that kind of is the end of the 3-ring binder. If you have any questions, I wanted to put everything in one central location for you as an instructor. So if you have a question, you got it right there to look at. I'm quickly going to touch on your professional negotiated agreement that we are settled. The KNEA is settled with the school board, but I'm just going to go through some key provisions so that you're aware of them, particularly for our new staff members. Our contract length is your contract length is 184 days. Duty days from 7:45 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. Anytime that you substitute during a planning period, it's $10 per period. You're entitled to a duty-free lunch. If you do have any lunchroom duties of supervision, then you are compensated for that either with a meal or with that extra duty supplement. One change this year was that parent-teacher conferences are mandatory work hours. So if you have to miss parent-teacher conferences for any reason, you'll be deducted. Time will be deducted for the appropriate leave. Leave provisions, sick leave. You have 12 sick days per year. Bereavement leave, you have 5 days of bereavement. You can use 2 of those 5 days to attend funerals of those not within your immediate family, pending the approval of the principal. You also have emergency leave. This is done in hours, not days. You have 16 hours that can be used in increments of 1 hour. So if you have an appointment at 3 o'clock, you can use emergency leave for that. Professional leave, you are granted 2 days of professional leave per year to attend any type of meeting that the workshop or conference still needs to be approved by administration, but I typically approve those. You cannot do that during the first 10 or last 10 days of the school year. Please let me know 5 days in advance. And this does not include meetings and trainings that we send you to as an administrative team. District reimbursement for professional leave, meals $30 a day, registration $95 a day, lodging $60 a day. Personal leave, each teacher is allowed one personal day at his or her discretion. Once you accumulate 25 days, you're granted an extra day. You cannot leave be used 2 days before or 2 days at the end of a semester. Salary advancement policy. Staff, if you're going to want to move over on the salary schedule because you completed classes, you must notify the superintendent by June 1st, and all transcripts must be turned into the district office by October 1st, and those transcripts must be official transcripts. Continuing education. As a teacher, the school district will compensate you for any additional hours up to a maximum of 3 credit hours every 5 years. Tuition cannot exceed $175 per credit hour. So basically, the school district once every 5 years will pay for one 3 credit hour class. Payroll deductions, typical state and federal income tax, Social Security, capers. You also have optional deductions with health insurance, other annuities, and any professional dues. Paychecks will be available or they're direct deposited in the bank by no later than the 5th of each month. Special purchase allotment, each teacher is allowed $100 each year for individual instructional purposes. You just file that requisition with me. And personnel files, each employee has the availability at any time to view the personnel file in the district office. Career and technical education pathways. Currently we have 12 for this school year, 12 different pathways in our building centered around family and consumer science, business, art, agriculture, a little bit of English, and let's see what else. I think that's about it. But one of the new ones that we have for this year are audiovisual communications, agribusiness, and visual arts and web and digital communications. We did a little bit last year, but those are going to be fairly new as well. I want to quickly hit on state assessments. When we return, I'll individually meet with teachers to review state assessment scores from last spring. But this year, state assessments will be drastically different. The footprint will be reduced by 60%. So basically, there's only going to be two-stage adaptive assessment in ELA and math in the spring. Each part or stage is 45 to 60 minutes in length. That's the only testing. All the MDPTs, the performance tasks, all that is going to be moved to what the state is calling interim assessments. And I don't know a lot about those interim assessments, but as soon as the state releases information, we'll get that to you. The biggest thing with the interim assessments is that they are going to allow for growth and feedback and hopefully give us a better predictor on how students will perform in the summative assessment. District request forms. I'm not going to show you this website, but we have leave request, extra duty compensation, activity accounts, a district requisition, transportation, fundraiser, and event. So if you have any questions on how to access these, go to the district website. Okay, that didn't work very good, but if you go to the district website, it will, you can go to staff and go to staff request forms. It will take you to those forms that you need. Lesson plans, we'll continue to use planbook.com for our lesson plans. Some teachers still prefer to do their daily lessons on their district, the website provided by the district. That's fine, but lesson plans are required to be updated daily or weekly, and those will be checked. Important student handbook policies.